Ignition sequence start. 3, 2, 1.
Range is hot. Lock and load. It's time for the Gun Rack with your hosts, Joey and Drew.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Gun Rack Sonoran Desert Institute School of Firearms Technology's official podcast. I am Josiah Upper. Folks call me Joey, and with me we have one
Drew Poplin.
He took his time, but he's there, Drew Poplin. Folks, this is the 200th episode of the Gun Rack. Technically, it's a little bit after that. We've had some supplementals, but we're calling it the 200th because that's cleaner. And we have some bittersweet news to tell you guys in the meantime. We have been, of course, working under the aegis of Sonoran Desert Institute as a podcast for the past 5 years. And they have directed us to pause the creation of the podcast for a while. We don't know quite how the future is going to look. And there's been enough. I'll remind folks that haven't listened for a while. I actually started working elsewhere in a full-time capacity in fall of 2022, so almost 2 full years ago. Drew's been around, but suffice to say, when or if the podcast resumes, not super sure what format that will take, and this may be the final goodbye for me. We will see. But we do have some exciting things to talk about in the meantime. I want to take a couple of seconds and talk about my time with you guys, and thank you for that. I'm going to kick it over to Drew, and then we're going to talk about the future, because there is some stuff that you guys can do if you are interested in the continuation of the podcast that we can give you guys. We've actually been directed to give to you guys that I think you'll enjoy. So first, we'll start. Those of you that haven't listened for a while, so I launched the Gun Rack podcast in 2019. I had very little idea what I was doing, but I got hired here in 2018 after being a freelance outdoors and firearms writer for a few years before that. Started in content marketing, got promoted up in the same field a little bit, and was able to bring Drew on in 2022. And then I left for actually in a job that dried up immediately. My NDA with them has expired, so I can tell you it was awful. It was terrible. But I ended up in a place where I'm very happy now, working history, just like I wanted to as a kid. So that's been wonderful. But the ability to spend time with you guys, it's been every couple of weeks now here lately, but weekly for such a long time, has been very special. And I want to thank you guys for listening and helping me to continue to take part in a community that I value as much as I do. Drew, I'm going to kick it over to you, as you've been around SDI for quite a bit, or much more recently than I have, I should say.
For sure. Yeah, to be honest, going into this episode, episode 200, we were kind of like thinking about like, what could we do for this? Because I remember we did episode 100. We were recording that bad boy in a public library, which that was an interesting experience in and of itself. I remember
we did have a stranger just walk in and start talking in the middle of it.
Yeah, that was so bizarre.
It took hours, and we had preset everything for weeks ahead of time, and it was fun, but oh my gosh.
Yeah. Maybe other than the firearms draft episodes, I feel like maybe this took the episode 100 took the longest amount of time to do.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
So you know what? We decided to grant ourselves a little grace for episode 200. No, but honestly, I was just reflecting on all the moments I've gotten to share with you guys, the audience, with the Gun Rack Mafia, and with Joey doing this podcast. It's been so incredible. Way back episode 187, I had to look up the exact number that I joined on.
On 87?
Yep.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
So it's kind of crazy thinking I've been here for like over half of it, but
yeah,
it's been It's been incredible. I've been very privileged to kind of step in and be a part of this thing that you started, Joey, way back in the day. And, I was just trying to think about like some of my favorite moments from the past 200 episodes, or specifically for me, past 113
Yeah.
episodes. I'm not entirely sure where to begin. But one thing that sticks out to me is probably being told that the hood don't like us.
That was the greatest day of my life.
But then recently, when I quoted Kendrick Lamar in a podcast, being told that we were too hood. So it's really cool being able to,
We can't have it.
yeah,
Like, it's forget have it all. We can have nothing.
we have no community.
We
Uh,
do. Yeah.
so that was one of the first things that came to mind. I've been privileged to
Um,
learn a lot more about history through the podcast, which has been cool.
absolutely.
It's caused me to directly take more of an interest in, because growing up I always was into like World War II. Like, what kid that is into military
Yeah,
history?
you were born a 43-year-old man.
Yes. I mean, in North Carolina, I feel like you either get really into World War II or the Civil War. Uh,
Yeah. You picked the easy road.
well, I picked the easy road until I watched Gods and Generals and thought that was awesome until I grew up and realized that it was not a good movie.
It's not great. No. Stephen Lang did everything he could to make that movie work.
Yeah, shout out to Stephen Lang if you're listening for
I'm always
whatever
boosting
reason.
Stephen Lang.
Yeah. No, it's just been fantastic, and I feel like I've learned so much about firearms since we started. Kind of the idea when I was being brought onto the show was being that outsider that didn't know much about firearms but had an interest, and just being able to learn so much through the past 2.5 years at this point. It's been really rewarding, and I want to thank you guys for listening and let me have that experience. And hopefully we made you laugh. Hopefully we made you laugh. Hopefully you learned some cool things, and I don't know, maybe even met some cool people through it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I was informed by someone, was it 2 months ago, that you were a lot of fun and that I got boring a lot.
Oh yeah, I forgot about
Yeah.
that.
First of all, I'm proud of you. Most people, when we do this podcast, can't differentiate our voices unless we're constantly referring to each other by their names. So if you've listened to us enough to not like me, you are listening enough to validate any opinion you may have. So I'm not going to fight you on it.
I feel like it should be easy to tell us apart. You sound like a normal human. I sound like I constantly have a cold.
I mean, you were born for NPR, but this is the NPR of the firearms community for all those firearms guys that aren't already deeply into NPR.
Yeah.
So no, but hold on. Let me see what we have here. So we wanted to talk about that. We also don't want to completely emphasize that as the last thing we're talking about. I've got one final just little treat at the end. It's not really a treat. It's just firearms related material. But before that, we are going to talk about what you can do for future topics because that's really what we would like to talk about.
Mhm.
So the gun rack is going on pause. We don't know what format it may look like. And again, I've not worked there in some time, so who knows what it, how it may run. I'm certain whenever it comes off hiatus, that whoever is running it will do a wonderful job. But in the meantime, here is what I have been asked to tell you guys, and actually, I think it's great. So it'll come from me too. We want to get audience feedback for topics for the podcast. If this is a show that you guys enjoy and want to hear more of, if you can send an email to marketing@sdi.edu, that is an email that is monitored by the director of marketing over at SDI, Steve. It's good people. And any feedback you may have, any topic requests you may have, I think as we are going on pause, they are trying to get a sense of what a future for this podcast might look like. And you guys get a chance to influence that. That's really cool. And from our experience with you guys in the past, we know that you guys are actually pretty responsive when something is on the table like that. So I strongly encourage you to put that in. I am excited to see what you guys do with that, should you wish to do it. And whatever form the gun rack takes next, we are so excited for you guys to continue to have this little mini community and Discord question mark that I have never seen in person, but I think allegedly exists. Drew, isn't there a Discord, or is
Yes.
it just a subsection of a Discord?
So there is the unofficial SDI Discord.
I
It's
see.
ran by Owen Chambers. Great group of
Oh yeah,
guys. Yeah, fantastic group of guys. You got to talk to or hear from a lot of them when we did our most recent firearms draft episode. So if that's
yeah.
something you're interested in, I definitely encourage you to seek that out because it's a great community. There's constantly stuff going on there all the time. If you want the link, I cannot remember it off the top of my head, but if you go back to our episode with Owen and our firearms draft episode, I believe, I think both of those have a link to that Discord. So just follow that. They'll ask you whether you're faculty or a student or a graduate. So yeah, just give them those details and yeah, you can figure it out. It's a great place.
That is awesome. Yeah, they've been really sweet to us over the past little bit, so appreciate you guys there as well. So before I wrap up, there was some gun stuff I wanted to talk about just a little bit. We have talked about individual types of guns. We've talked about individual cartridges or platforms, but I thought one way to wrap would be to walk through the go-to firearm I have for each of those kind of basic situations people own firearms for. Um, so so I think you guys know already, we haven't mentioned it in a little while, but I concealed carry, and that was kind of my whole thing there for a while. That's how I got into the firearms industry. I was writing about concealed carry stuff and 2A stuff. And currently, my EDC is the 6-hour P365 XL, which we've talked about a little bit. And I bounced through holsters, but I have found that a full Kydex holster with a claw has been transformational. I did hybrids for quite a while. It's very difficult to miss with a decent Kydex holster with a claw, so I'm not even going to give you a brand recommendation on that. If you're thinking of one right now, it's probably good. Go get it. If you can appendix carry, awesome. I absolutely cannot. So I carry it right at like 3 o'clock or 3:30, and that works great. It's a kind of the 365 XL with a claw holster specifically is a kind of firearm. Like I don't wear baggy traditional outdoorsy dude clothes very much. I used to when I started this, but I take care of myself a little bit better, so I don't have to wear baggy clothes anymore. Not
Joey's
that if you
all
do, you're
skinny
in bad.
jeans now.
It's largely skinny jeans, but not hipster skinny jeans, more just Costco skinny jeans.
Mm.
But yeah, not that boxy clothes are something you have to do when you're overweight, but I did because that's how overweight I was. But the point is, more form fitting shirts, uh, Costco appropriate skinny jeans. Shout out to my boys over at Urban Star. You can still conceal carry just fine. You're not compromising yourself or anything, and that's huge. If I'm doing a winter carry and I'm not using the 365 XL, the very little shuffling I do, and I only really do it if I feel like carrying in a shoulder holster, which I kind of need a jacket to do. You get the idea. Is going to be a 6-hour C3, which unfortunately they don't even make anymore. But it's a commander length barrel, 4.25 inch barrel, officer length grip, 45 ACP. Great firearm. If you can get your hands on one, whatever they are charging, south of $1,000 is worth it. It is the only 1911 I'm ever going to own. That's not a box I'm trying to check, but holy crap, I'm never getting rid of that thing. My what is it that people call it now that's prevents them from getting yelled at on Facebook? Is a modern sporting rifle, the semi-automatic rifle of choice for me has been and probably always will be the Galil Ace Gen 1. As I probably always will be. If I can get my hands on a Gen 2, I will jettison my Gen 1 into space, but that's the only thing that would make me change it. On that is a primary arms 3x prism. They have the best optics, in my opinion, for the 7.62 by 39 platform. A lot of my homies out there, you're trying to go get your drop correct over a course of a couple hundred yards at 7.62 by 39, and you don't have a calibrated scope, there's like praying involved. It's definitely a trick. But I can tell you the last time I shot my Galil Ace outside of a like hard training course, I was hitting a 9-inch dinner plate at 500 yards with a 3x scope. And that is not a cartridge that's supposed to get out that far. That's how good that optic is, and that's how good that rifle is. Okay, we're almost done. Hunting rifle, you could use the Galil Ace. It'd be really heavy. So I don't do that, but I do use the Ruger American Ranch. And with that, I actually have, I don't even remember the brand, one of those kind of sketchy optic places. They always set up booths in gun shows. And you always know they're sketchy because they try to, what's the word? Not bargain.
Haggle.
Yes, thank you. They try to haggle with you over their own price. But when I bought it, I was 19. So like it's happening. We're doing it. And that optics actually turned to be okay. And more to the point, the Ruger American Ranch, again, 7.62 by 39, and we're talking about Barnaul and tool ammo for a lot of my hunting stuff because I am a poor, like many of you. I can get a 1.25 inch MOA comfortably with that trash ammo. Awesome firearm. And if you're hunting out in the West, you're going to have a hard time getting it to reach out and touch. But if you're in the East Coast, I'm in North Carolina. 200 yards is a long shot for us. Longest shot I've ever taken was 275, and everyone and their brother thought I was lying. And so that works very well for East Coasters. Great for whitetail. If you're going to go bigger, obviously you might want to tweak that, but that's a recommendation. The firearm I just have in my home that I'm never getting rid of. It's a Taurus. I think they call it an 89. It does not have a title on its body anywhere, but I did some looking up, and it is a knockoff of the Colt Python. And Taurus used to make knockoffs of Colt Pythons, and that gun slaps. It's a 357. It is what lives in my nightstand. That is very vague instructions for you, but I will leave with some more concrete recommendations. People like to dunk on Taurus as poverty tier, but and to a certain extent, I get some of that. I think Taurus has made a bounce back with a lot of their G2, G3, and G4 stuff. Taurus's revolvers are good. They just are flat out good. I hate me a snub nose, as some of you guys know, but if you are just trying to get a 357 with a 4-inch barrel and want to find one, you can get a Taurus. Like, you're not going to be hurting yourself by going lower on price. If you're going to compromise anywhere dollar-wise, that's where I would go. Big recommend there. And then finally, for shotguns, currently I have what is the knockoff of Remington 870? I think it's the Ultra 87. It's one of those specials you get at the department store around Black Friday. And that's the one gun I have in my list that I do not recommend. It's reliable, it does function, but I still got to hand it to Mossberg and Company for ease of use. I will probably upgrade it's a heck of an upgrade to a Maverick 88. If you're upgrading to that, what's going on with your life? But if you're going to own a shotgun that you can split between home defense and hunting, Maverick 88, 2 barrels, go get it. I own other firearms. Those are the ones that if I were to get rid of everything else, those would remain. And I wanted to share that with you guys. Some of those are easier to get your hands on than others. Galil Ace Gen 1s are discontinued, but even in the secondary market, they are really expensive. It was the gift I gave myself to celebrate paying for my wedding. And I think it was $1,700 when I bought it. And they're still right around there. So that's what I have in terms of recommendations right now. Galil Ace remains an expensive platform, but if you have interest in it, I strongly encourage you to do so. The AK platform has been made a little bit easier to get your hands on at a good price point, thanks to Palmetto State Armory. I think SDI still has a pretty close relationship with them. I do personally have a pretty good relationship with them. I think people dunk on them a little bit, but again, if you don't want to get into Galil Ace money, but you want to get into that vibe, start with the PSAK and see what you feel about that. But the biggest recommendation I have for you guys is get the P365 XL if you can handle it size. Get some classes. I thought I was very good with handguns until I took some handgun classes, and take some classes. Learn basic firearm safety if you've not already. Store your firearms properly. I think I'm going to annoy some people with that, but so many of the things that we get yelled at as firearm proponents take place because people don't store their firearms correctly. Be careful. Lock your car if you're leaving it in your glove box. Put it in a safe if it's in your house and you have young kids. Like, please, come on. And then know your state, local regulations, and go get a concealed carry permit if that's something that's viable in your place. Those are kind of that's my weird little benediction for you guys.
Joey, I have a gift for you.
Oh.
And I guess for the audience. Courtesy of Reddit user Boobity McBoobity, we have episode 200, Tales from the Range.
Let's go.
I was at the battalion assault range at 29 Palms. Second time I've been through the CAX, a Mojave Viper, whatever they call it now, pre-deployment workup. I had the experience with the AT4, which if you don't know, that's like if you think of like a
light anti-armor weapon, yeah.
I had experience with the AT4, so I picked out a boot to get to fire it and designated myself as the A gunner to make sure he got it right. We dismount at the designated spot. Every gun in the battalion is throwing lead down the range of targets. MK19, M2, 240s, M16s. Everything is going off. Coyote calls out a target, such and such direction at such and such yards. So I grab my little boot and yell out to the squad, AT4 up. We run to the firing position. I tell him range and direction. He yells it back. I check the back blast area, yell back blast, all secure. Then I yell fire, and he yells firing. And then all I hear is that high-pitched, I forgot to put earplugs in.
Oh, no. That's a good one.
So, again, just make sure you're being safe out there, guys. But I wanted to do another Tales of the Range for episode 200. I felt it was only appropriate. So thank you to the U.S. Marine Corps subreddit for that story.
Yeah, deep cut. Guys, we hope you have fun, and we hope this is a brief pause. But we wanted to let you guys know, and it's been such a privilege getting to talk with you guys over the past few years. And in whatever form the gun rack may continue, we hope you guys will continue to enjoy it as we go. So have fun, stay safe out there, and we will see you at the range.
Sonoran Desert Institute is an online school accredited by the DEAC. It is headquartered at 1555 West University Drive in Tempe, Arizona. For more information about how you can craft your firearms future, visit sdi.edu.